Dear Mama, we know some dope women who do really, really dope things. And in this episode, we have a good mama, girlfriend, sister circle with one of the dopest women we know. This episode is like an episode of Teen Summit for mamas. Y'all remember Teen Summit, BET, Saturday mornings? Shout out to Gen X. Anyway, if you're a Black mama creative with kids on the cusp of adulthood, this is the episode for you. If you need a reminder that our bodies are divine, creative energy with the power to manifest our deepest desires, this is the episode for you. If you need affirmation that you can love your mama and want to do things very differently from your mama, this is the episode for you. And we'll also be dropping bonus content again in our Patreon community. Speaking of Patreon, here are 4 other ways to support us and help us continue to be Black Mama Built. Number 1, don't just listen, subscribe, and leave a review. I've read those. I love them. I plan to post them on social media. Thank you so much. Number 2, share this episode with at least one person you feel can benefit from listening. Number 3, follow us and engage with us through social media comments, DM us, or email us at magic@dimmblackmamas.com. Number 4, get on the mothership, which is our newsletter that drops in your box twice a month. And number 5, I said I have 4, but I lied. I really got 5. Make a contribution by purchasing merch or make a one-time donation. And if you're on our email list, you get a discount on merch, and merch is going up. The price is going up in the month of May. So purchase your merch now, and we'll have some new stuff dropping in June. So for those links and all the links mentioned in this episode, be sure to check out our show notes on our website at DEMBlackmamas.com. That's DEM blackmamas.com. When you invest in Dem Black Mamas, you're investing in a platform curated by 3 Black women actively cultivating spaces rooted in healing, creativity, and liberation for Black mamas. Now, let's get free, y'all, and jump into episode 42 of
Dem Black Mamas.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the ride. I am Crystal Tennille Irby, mother of 4.
And I am Thea Monnier, mother of 3.
And NeKisha Killings, mother of 4, will not be with us today because she's on vacation.
Her on vacation.
With
her downstairs. Where that's from. Y'all know where that's from.
With her 4 babies. So it's just Thea and I right now. We'll be joined by a guest we're really excited about, Staci Mitchell. Yes. We are just so grateful that she is giving us some of her precious time. So we will stay focused.
Oh God, you know it's always bad when shit. Okay, you're right. We can do this.
In honor of NeKisha. We've grown. So in honor of NeKisha, we'll stay focused. So I do want to say thank you all for listening to our previous episodes and also for writing. So let's go ahead and get into it. So we'll start with a responsive reading from the Black Mama Magic card deck, and then we'll roll. Oh my God, Thea's dog popped in the picture and I thought that was a dog behind me. I was like, what is that?
Behind you?
I don't know why I thought that, but my heart started racing.
One of my daughters got a cat today, a kitten, and we are not cat household, but he's very sweet. His name is Juno, and she's having a lot of anxiety around whether or not these two will like each other.
Riley's so gentle, though.
I actually think they're feeding off of her anxiety right now.
Oh,
and remember,
okay.
they're having their own experiences, right? Like the
Yeah.
new cat is like in a new place and like, what the fuck's going on? Who these black people? And then Riley's like, why the new boo? So he has to be with me right now.
So do you feel like it's a cross-racial pet adoption?
It is a transracial
pet adoption. Like the cat has been around white
However,
people.
it's from brown folks. No, brown folks. So I do feel like there's some lineage here. Some shared lineage. So, black people just do things slightly different, but it's closer. First of all, I told them we're not getting a cat for white people. White people do the most.
No.
Right? Like even when you're just trying to adopt
pet
not
adoptions.
From white people. Not from white people. And let me tell you why. Okay? Ain't nobody giving up their license and registration. It's too much. They want to do home inspections. It's a mess. Well, they prefer to be with other kittens. I'm not taking 5 cats to get one. That's ridiculous. So we said we would just wait up because we knew a black or a brown person was going to have a litter. And then it was going to be like, just somebody come through and get this kitten. And that's exactly what happened.
I don't even know how we got here. We are already down the rabbit hole. Okay. So we're going to start with our responsive reading from the Black Mama Magic card deck. Then we'll have our mac and cheese. And as always, we'll close with Black Mama Say. Okay, so I'm going to shuffle. I'm shuffling the deck. Okay, here we go. This card is consistently coming up. So the responsive reading today, lay your burdens on the altar of love. Dear Mama, this next part of the journey is going to require all of you, your fullest self. Take the time you need to unburden, to shed the weight of yesterdays that has been holding you back, slowing you down. Rest in love, be rejuvenated in joy, gird up in peace. Go, Mama, go. That's so inspirational.
Yes, it is. We always have to be reminded to just like set somewhere and let it be and let it take care of us.
And we always have to be reminded to put down the load. Like we don't have to carry so much. I think that's from the book of NeKisha. That's one of NeKisha's cards. So that's card number 10. So that's our pull for this episode. And that's our responsive reading. So now we can roll into our mac and cheese. Yes.
So bear with me, y'all, because our guest today does a lot of big things and a lot of big words. And so I'm going to be as fluent as possible. But we have the Staci L. Mitchell, a fierce and exquisite creative with healing properties here with us today. Staci is an experienced registered yoga teacher and student, master of theater, poet, performance artist, playwright, and director, and a professor at Pan-African Studies of 10 plus years. Now listen, just that alone, y'all. That's what I'm saying about the yoga practice. You ain't getting no regular stuff, right? Particularly where it intersects and overlaps with theater, literature, womanism, and Black feminism. Rooted in the Black aesthetic, Black and African rhythms centered as Sankofa, a super dope place from which to draw inspiration or to begin. For Staci, one of those spaces is the yoga mat. As founder of Hieroglyphics Yoga Studio, a practice shaped to heal and to grow, to serve and cultivate warrior spirits of justice, power, and peace. She also wrote and fought for the first yoga class offered as Pan-African and womanist pedagogy on the campus of Cal State LA, Yoga, Radical Healing Traditions and Practices in 2020. Creator of innovative curriculum developed for Pan-African Studies and Theater, specialist in womanism, the complexities of Black women's identity, both formal and informal performativity, and our array of performative spaces. So listen, y'all, let me just add my little piece to this bio. When Staci Mitchell walks across the campus, or just any space, a parking lot, it could be a Vons parking lot, y'all, Trader Joe's. It's like the Seas Park. You could see her, and we're talking about campuses with thousands of people, and I could still identify as Staci Mitchell walked from across the way. So we talk about somebody who embodies full power, and it's just such a joy to be around that energy. So welcome, Staci.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, she floats. She floats when she walks. So it's like you see everybody else walking and like you see somebody floating and you're like, oh, what is that? How is that person moving like that? That's what it looks like.
It's like one of those remember the movie Friday, them slow motion shots? It's like that.
Or who was the guy who Hype Williams? It's like a Hype Williams video.
It's like Hype Williams video. Yes.
Well, big ups to y'all. Thank you for that intro and description. It's my pleasure to be here with y'all. It's been a long time coming, right?
Yes.
It really, really has been. It really has been.
Okay, here we go. Where were you 10 years ago? And did you think you'd be where you are now?
She said, oof.
Let's start there.
Because right there in the bio, you said 10 years I've been teaching for Pan-African Studies. So 10 years ago, roughly, I recently had completed my master's. You know, my vision was to keep working theater programs, work on stage, kind of get into the theater world. And then I kind of got snatched off stage, in fact, from my thesis performance to come and teach for Pan-African Studies. And so a long time ago, and I know I've told you all this, and I always tell my students this. You remember that Jim Carrey movie, The Yes Man?
Yes.
Do y'all remember that? That movie was transformative for me because it was like, when you say no, that's it. The door is closed, right? And there's no more possibility beyond no.
Wow.
But when you say yes, you don't know what you're opening yourself up to. And so just say yes and figure it out. And so I said, yes, I'll do it. And I had no clue that I would be still sitting here teaching for Pan-African Studies, still figuring out a way to become tenure track without a so-called terminal degree. Like we're trying to break this pedagogy down. We try to deconstruct the pedagogy. Well, then let's deconstruct the pedagogy, right? And so that's literally an argument that I'm making right now to kind of qualify myself for a tenure track line, even though I don't have what they call a terminal degree.
Yeah. And let me say something about your yes. Your yes means a lot because you don't give a lot of yeses. You don't give a lot of no's, but you give a lot of
you give a lot of let me think about it.
You get a lot of let me think about it. Like we know
let me sit with that
Staci Mitchell time is precious. That is sacred time. You'll say, well, we'll see.
Oh, we'll see. The we'll see. That's a good one. Let me sit with that.
We'll see. And let me meditate on that.
But here's the thing, though. It's really not you throwing out some bullshit. It's really like, no, Staci's serious.
Let me tell you something. When Staci shows up to anything you doing, you feel like, oh, shit. Like she actually came to this joint. I'm popping right now.
Y'all making it sound bad.
No, but Staci, real talk.
Because we know you're not wasteful.
Yes.
So that's it. Like a lot of people are just like, all right. But you'll be like, let me actually consider whether that serves me, which is good practice.
Yes.
Because us to be like, let me sit with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I use that.
Yeah. Because on the other side of always saying yes, is just like always saying yes, right? And then you find yourself in situations that you don't really want to be in.
Yeah.
And there's nothing worse for my spirit than being somewhere
or the spirits of other folks around you at the time.
That, you know what I'm saying? Well, I just don't want to be there. I get restless. I get irritated. And I'm like, why are you here? You know? But also, Thea, we really got close, right? Like I was like, Thea's my friend. Like I didn't know Thea was my friend, but then I learned Thea was my friend. When I was going through my breast cancer diagnoses and treatments, I was like, this sister is for real, right? When I came out of that, the studio was born out of that trauma, right? That's part of the ongoing healing. Crystal, I know you from before.
Yeah.
You know, from a long time ago. So if there was a shift even more, like with my time and then also focus, that was it, right? And so when I opened the studio, it was a lot of energy going out. I was still teaching for Pan-African Studies. I work Saturdays until 5:30. You know, I'm working a 6-day week now. 5:30, after I clean and I mop that studio, all I'm really trying to do is get to the house, take a shower, scrub this body, then chill right into Sunday. Because I got to be up and I got to be ready. Like all of my work, it was a lot of giving.
Yeah.
So that was how I maintained that balance, was to just hold space for myself. And that meant I had to be really selective. Now I'm on the other side of that now. You know, I no longer have the brick and mortar, which symbolically was like, you know, it was grounding.
Yeah.
But it was also like restrictive in a way. It had me kind of tethered to the space and to the responsibilities of managing the space.
Yeah.
And so now on the other side of that, I'm even more careful. You know, I'm still negotiating that space back. So like, what do I need to keep and what do I need to release? But since I no longer have the space, and how do I continue to serve everybody, including me?
We met because we were both in the Master's Theater program at Cal State LA. And you were even like that with your creativity. You were selective and really thoughtful in terms of the energy that you wanted to create in your pieces. And your approach was also thoughtful in terms of the time, because Cal State LA's program, I think, is very different from a lot of theater programs. You're not just getting up on a stage acting. Well, when I was there, it was a very cutting edge approach. Like we were reading Augusto Boal. You're not doing art for the sake of art. This art serves an intentional purpose. Mm-hmm. And art is to be done everywhere, not just in the theater space. Mm-hmm. So with that said, you had to bring your whole self. You couldn't just bring your mind and your thoughts of creativity. You had to bring your mind, your body, and your spirit into that program. And one of the first plays that I saw Staci do, it was a 10-minute car plays. And each play was outside, and the centerpiece of the play was a car. It was a play really about the objectification of women and how men look at women as their cars. And wow, you did R. Kelly. You remind me of my Jeep.
You were ahead of your time.
You're ahead of your time. Ahead of your time.
Right? Like I need a recording of that. Where's the recording of that?
But you were so deliberate in terms of the energy that you wanted to exude from that. And I remember the frustration with the actor, the frustration with the way in which, you know, you were moving.
I remember them.
Yeah, your husband and like, Staci, no, it's good. You were like, no, he's not conserving the right energy. Like you were always conscious of the amount of energy and the kind and how it was being used in your creativity. So I think you're that person just across the board.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that observation. I try to be efficient.
Oh, I love that word. Efficient and effectiveness will keep you from... It will keep you saying yes when you need to say yes, no when you need to say no. It will let you stop and consider. I think that's such a good thing. And I think that's the thing Black women have a right to be and think about, right? That our efficiency is not the amount of what we supply for others, but it's it's the output, right? Did we get the result we were seeking, that we wanted, that felt good to us, that was channeled by spirit? Because if not, then it is to us a waste of our energy.
Straight up.
These things all work together, right? Your understanding of energy, yoga, and your creativity. How do you see these things working together?
Well, you know, it's all the same source. Right? So I feel like when I step on the mat, you know, I'm a formalist, right? So I'm a lot of things, right? We're a lot of things. It's like I'm casual, yes. And I don't like a lot of hard edges. That's true. But I'm also a formalist. Yes. And so even if you don't get the form, even if you're not aware of the shape, like I am, you know, and so nothing is ever by accident. When I teach a class, from the music that we start with to the music that we need to crunch to.
A Staci Mitchell playlist, y'all.
Okay.
You don't know. So good.
And this music is not my music, but it's my job to shape it, to have it land at the right time, with the right lyrics, with the right voice. I'm thinking about those things. We are rhythmic people. And actually sound and rhythm is kind of like the tenets of one of my classes. So the music, the postures, the language, you know, how I use my voice. Like for some of us, our voice is part of our arsenal, as part of our toolkit, you know.
Yeah.
We use it in various ways to create. And so I stay open to, okay, what is my intention? And if it doesn't serve the intention, it can't be here.
Right.
I might feel like doing a balancing half moon, right? But we've been talking about staying grounded, right? So I want both feet flat on the ground. I want your hips moving towards the earth. I want your palms on the ground, all of those things. And so you do have to be creative to teach yoga, to teach anything, to raise 3 children. You know, my mother's, I always said about her, like, this woman, don't nothing stop her. She gonna make a way out of no way. Like when there is nothing there, she'll whip up a feast. And I'm like, I thought we didn't have nothing in the refrigerator. like having that constant innovation. And, you know, part of it is necessity for us to kind of thrive and find beauty. But the other piece is, I know who I am. I know why I'm here. I can't be reckless with certain spaces. And so there's the form, right? And I think that's where the formalism kind of comes in.
But I love the and all. When you say I have many names, I believe that's true of so many of us. And part of our stress, part of our distress is a society that tells us we have to choose one of everything. The point you're making is like, there's not just duality, there's multiplicity, but even the duality of things that seem like opposites. Like, yeah, there's times I'm casual and free flowing, and there's also form to me that may not look like form. So that piece, I'm wondering, did you self-authorize that? Was there someone that along the way, like mentor or a book or something that kind of opened that portal? Or do you feel like, because, you know, sometimes I picture 2-year-old Staci Mitchell walking on the earth the way you did across the campus, right? So I think that's important for people to know our journeys of self-authorization, because we all are kind of sitting with that potential to be multiple, but waiting for someone to authorize it, or waiting, you know, for a thing to happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does. You know, I'm not sure, but I know I just came back from spending 2 weeks in my mother's house. And we had a couple of brush ups. Okay. And not nothing terrible, but there were some reminders.
The good tension.
Because it's like, you know, I'm like, how is my daughter? So I'm gonna try to pull this together, because y'all know how my mind works. Like, how is my daughter who's 24 still here and she's fine with it? Like when I was 24, like
trying to get out
long before 24. As soon as I graduated high school, it was like, boom, I'm gone. Like I came back for a short visit and then I was gone. Then I came back for it and I was gone. And that was important to me. Not so with my children. Okay. But after spending a couple of weeks in my mother's house, now I talk to my mother all the time, but I spent a couple of weeks in my mother's house.
Which is something different.
In her environment and her rule. Yeah.
Come on now, you all know. Part of my personality has been, and this is what I meant about the spirit, your mouth is saying yes, but your spirit is saying no, or vice versa. And that inner conflict, because as a child, and I love my mother, I love her to death, and we still doing this work, but I had to watch her pick up the phone. Hello? Yeah, oh, sure. Okay, I'll do that. I'll make a pie. I'll make the macaroni and cheese. I'll make some greens or whatever. Yes. And then hang up the phone and be like, oh, why did I say yes? And I'd be going, don't say yes. You don't want to do it. Just say no. That's another powerful word that you have to learn how to say, right? And so I just didn't like it. I didn't like watching it. I didn't like how it made her feel. And then I didn't like how it was impacting me.
Your space, right?
Yes, impacting my space, impacting
because now
my
her
time.
mood is different, and
your mood, and that's my mother. She has a beautiful spirit, right? But I'm talking about the leeches. I'm talking about the leeches, right? Where you're just like, this woman don't never show up until you knows you burning, and here she comes, and she come empty-handed. It's time for you to tell her no. That's me. I'm that pit who's coming. I'm that one who's coming with that fire. I'm that middle child. I'm that one who was always that way. And so I said, I'm not going to do that. Now, that doesn't mean I don't, because obviously, I work with students. It's so hard for me to tell them no. Certain people, it's so hard for me to tell them no. But if it creates any dysfunction in here, and that's what I listen to. Like, how do I feel about it? How does it make my stomach feel? Like, how do I feel? And I don't even have to put words to it. I know, how you feel.
It's in your body.
That was a big part of it for me, just kind of like growing up. But then later, I worked in the film industry for some time. And so I thought I was making money. I thought I was on this one track. And then I saw things that I didn't like. I mean, essentially, it's me too, right? I saw it up close and personal. I lived it up close and personal. And I was like, ooh, you better go get a degree, girl, because you ain't gonna make it in this business. You ain't gonna make it. And so that's when I went back to school. And so when I went back to school, I got my degrees, and then I wrote my thesis. Right. And then my thesis was all about choice. What is freedom? What liberties do I have? Did anybody force you to be a stay-at-home mom for those first 5 years? No, that was your choice. Did anybody tell you you had to get married? No, that was your choice. You made those choices intentionally. So you gonna go ahead and walk the path or the outcome of that choice. And so that was a big part of it, like defining freedom and liberty, and then making choices and knowing that I can also make different choices. So Ike, my baby, who I call my wash belly, he has a completely different experience with me than my older children did. Right. Because I'm like, I don't have to do it like my mother, that borrowing and rejecting of traditions from your mother, like certain things about her being at home with me, I loved. And then there are other things that you can't have this without that.
Yeah.
Like they're connected.
Yeah.
But I really feel like I didn't really fully arrive at that complete and total. Like I'm still learning how to self-author. Certain areas I'm more comfortable with. Like what I know.
Right.
You can't tell me nothing about certain things. I can talk about it all day. And then there's still other areas I still have some insecurities, right? That I haven't fully either been validated, or I haven't fully validated myself, or I haven't had the experience that makes me feel fully validated in it, if that makes sense. And so that's my ongoing struggle there.
It's our ongoing.
Yeah, because when I hear you speak, two things come up for me. First of all, the confirmation that liberation and freedom are journeys and not destinations, and they're always present. And we have the choice whether or not to take the journey towards freedom and the journey towards liberation. And even if you choose marriage or you choose to have children, things that the world say should constrict you, should control you, should define you in a smaller way, you still have the option to choose a path of freedom and liberation and define that for yourself. The other thing that comes up for me is that yeah, you were born like this. And no, like really, because when you're speaking about your mother, you were like hearing her say yes and her not really wanting to say yes. It didn't feel good to me. And so I decided to do something different. Whereas another child may have been like, oh, I saw my mother do this. And so I thought this was the way that you were supposed to do it. Or it just didn't land on them like that. We always talk about our children come here with their own purpose.
Yes.
And they come here knowing who they are, because your sister or your other siblings, it may have landed on them completely different.
Yeah.
Right.
You knew you weren't meant to flow through the world like that.
Absolutely.
It's just confirmation that our children come here knowing who they are. It's our job to learn who they are so we can then figure out our path of support for them. Your daughter's 24 and you're like, when I wanted a jet, and my kids are like, I'm staying.
That's when we go from the casual free flow to what is it?
Here we go.
To the
perfect example.
The formal, that's a great example.
You know, as a friend of Staci Mitchell, I can imagine as a child wanting to stay in that energy. I can, because again, it's confirmation. Our children come here.
I'm laughing
because
their
own
and I've had these conversations. When we had them before Staci, my kids were younger. So now that they're like 18, 16, I'm like, that urge to like nudge in a certain direction.
Yeah.
Not nudge in a certain direction. Like you start to really think like, I could really benefit from one of these choices. It's a totally different tightrope. I'm gonna tell you, I heard it and I empathize, but now I'm like feeling the actual.
I mean, I already know who's leaving and who's staying with my kids. Like I already know. I already know what it's gonna be.
Yeah. You already know how many rooms you're gonna need at your house.
I already know how many rooms I'm gonna need. I know who's going to college in state, who's going out of state. I know who's gonna try to emancipate themselves at 15. Like I already know. I already know who the therapy fund is for. I already know. And it's the acceptance that they come here as their own.
It's so hard.
It's hard to accept, but I'm gonna tell you.
Now listen, I know the acceptance is the medicine, but it requires friends. I'm be honest. It requires friends.
It does.
To help you to move through that. For anybody listening, I want you to know I feel you in a new way. I'm here. And that friends will get you through, because I've actually had to say, call your Auntie Krista on this one. Call your such and such on this one, because I know left to my own devices, when I have to imagine an indefinite amount of time, that causes some tension in my body.
Well, I think that's where that creative piece comes in, because you can't do it like you expected to do it. And you may not even do it like your parent did it. And so then you got to get really creative and you got to get really intentional about, how am I going to support this kid?
Or you can just like back up for a minute.
Well, that's part of the creativity too. Making the choice, you know what? I'm going to not get on the roller coaster.
Like the tension I feel is an indicator to like release.
Yeah.
And that's the piece right there. You know, as you know, Sister Iyanla Van Zandt,
Yes.
she speaks to me daily.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, she was having a conversation with a mother in a situation kind of similar to what I was just expressing to you all. And it's like, what is it that you want? You know, what do you really want? And so what I want and what that mother on her television show want are the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just, I need my space.
I think I know what episode you're talking about.
Don't want to put anybody on full Biggie, but you know what I'm saying, right? And what is it that you really want? And so don't worry about the dishes. Don't worry about her bedroom right now.
Right.
What do you want?
Right.
What is the goal? That is the goal. And so
That's
that
real.
was a lesson for
And
me.
then take it.
Taking it. But like, look, no resistance.
Right.
No resistance to all the other little petty shit that's going to come up, because that's going to keep you embroiled in all these other little battles.
Yeah, man.
That's going to have your jaws tight. It's going to have my jaws tight.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be running around here frowning. I don't want to be running around here with my jaws tight. I can whip myself up into a frenzy.
Yeah.
Real quick. Don't let me be cleaning the house.
Or see them dishes.
Yeah, if I see the dishes and then I gotta clean the dishes after I done cooked the meal, and then I gotta do all of that, and then by the time everything is clean in the way I want it, now I got an edge on me. I got an attitude, right?
Now I'm mad. Yeah, now I'm mad
because of all of these other factors. And so I just said, okay, you need to release some of those other expectations. That's the point. That's why you want your space.
And some of that is us just giving ourselves permission to just take the damn space without feeling guilty about it. Because I've realized, like, in my mind, I'm gonna tell y'all, this is real vulnerable, y'all. In my mind, sometimes they are the enemy to my self-care.
Yes.
Right? It is like they are the thing between it. When I think about it, though, I'm like, everybody's just being themselves. And if I were to just be myself, what I'm thinking is, oh, this whole thing's going to fall apart. Everybody's going to complain, whatever. But so be it. Everybody else is being themselves, no matter if things are going to fall apart. So not giving myself the permission to just do what I want. Like what I've been negotiating is I have a Oya day once a month. I check into a hotel. Can't nobody visit. Can't nobody come see me. And it's just silence. At first I was like, is 24 hours going to be enough? Let me tell you, 24 hours is a lot of time.
It's a lot.
When it's silent. And when it's like, you could only think about you, what you want to eat, where you want to walk, where
your
you want
needs,
to go.
your
That's
wants.
it.
Yeah.
Especially if you've had kids from your 20s, that time when people typically get to be very about themselves. If you did not have that time, now might be your time.
You're ready. Yes. You have both the
ready.
time and the means. Hopefully.
Yes. And I had to realize I was the person making myself feel bad about wanting that space and that time. And everybody else was just going to have to feel their way around that. So everybody's responsible for how they feel, including me.
Including me.
There was a woman on Instagram and she had a fuck them kids fund. And so she would put a little bit of money every paycheck into her fuck them kids fund.
Crystal, you just changed my life.
I'll put the link in the show notes. And then she would pick a day and she would use her fuck them kids fund. And no matter what anybody had to do on that day, she looked at the calendar. That was the day she picked. If something else came up in between, it was like, fuck them kids. You can't do that this Saturday. I'm doing that.
I love it.
That's it.
I'm going to rename my fund, by the way. I just renamed it now.
So she was like, it can be like simple things. Like you could go get your nails done, toes, movie checked, whatever.
It don't matter. Ice cream cone.
But what you're not doing is you're not taking phone calls because everybody has another adult that can support them.
That's right.
And if you have not built a life in which your children have other adults that can support them, you've got to check yourself.
Yeah.
That's on you.
That's on you. And you got to figure out like, okay, what is that about?
What is that about?
Yes. Lucille Clifton often talks about how motherhood, well, her poems got a lot shorter when the more kids she had. I got a lot shorter, the more kids she had. But she also talks about how, you know, I'm an award-winning poet and I'm ironing these clothes. And these kids are not impressed. They're not impressed.
They're not impressed.
They're not impressed that I'm an award-winning poet.
Yes.
No, literally, today I'm talking and the kids are like, can you take me to the store later? After I talk to the White House? After?
Yeah.
You expect me to run the Target?
Absolutely.
After?
But you know what that is? That is the constant reminder to me that, wow, everybody really is on their own journey, trying to get to wherever they feel like they need to get to. And yeah, you spoke to the White House today. That's great.
But I still need low porosity shampoo for my curls to pop.
Right. It's a wild space as a creative, because as a creative, when you are the source, you see yourself as the center when you create something. And so I think motherhood is a wild journey for a creative in that way.
Let me put it like this. When I go and visit my husband at work, he's never more sexy, right? Like not at home, kicking off his shoes, stepping out of his clothes, and like seeing him do you outside of here, like some distance and some like perspective.
Witness him.
You know, And when my children, when they kind of get to see me at work, but they're so, you know, they're very cool about it. But for them to kind of see me do what I do, you know, like mommy is not one thing, right? And, but when I'm here, I try to be fully present, right? I don't talk about work a lot. I don't bring a lot of work home. I can't. I will go crazy trying to hold on to everything all the time. And so I really have to set it aside, and I don't come in and go hard on unless something really fantastic has happened at work. And I just try to be here and vice versa. I'm not worried about what's going on at home when I'm teaching at Cal State LA.
I think that there's something to what you said about your children seeing you outside of home, like doing your thing. And I remember like you would bring your kids like to campus and to the show, and I would be like, oh, wow, that's how you do that. Okay. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, you got to get a babysitter. You got to, it's like, no, you allowed them the opportunity to witness you. Yeah. Because if you're saying I'm more than a mother, you have to give them the opportunity to witness you being
they
that. Have to see that.
And it's a long-term game, because we're thinking about who they're gonna be. They may not get it right now, and it may be frustrating right now, but I do know that they're witnessing. And so one day they'll be like in relationships or in motherhood, and they'll be like, I don't have to give up anything. I can still do all these things. And this is the piece I'm learning too, is you have to love me differently too as I grow, just like I have to love you differently. Yeah. Right. So some of that means the way you show up and love me when you were 6, 7, 8 was just like, oh, thank you, mommy, and the little kids, whatever. But as you get older, the way you love me, we have to be in deeper and different and more equitable relationship, which means I deserve grace. I deserve, you know, to be fully human. I don't have to keep that same mommy posturing I had when you were so young.
And I don't have to do it all.
No, I don't have to do it all. And so being able to like be loved differently, expect love differently from them as they get older is also something I'm allowing to happen.
And that's important, Thea, that allowing part, that we don't get locked in. Like I had to change your diaper, I had to wipe your butt, I had to fix your plate, I had to fix your food, I had to clean up behind you, I had to change your sheets, right? What does that look like as they grow? And then also trusting. I have to trust that I have allowed you to see my multiplicity and all of my complexities, and to witness and to live it with me. Yeah. So that by the time I directed my own play, I had to put EK in the play.
Yeah, which was brilliant.
Right. And he ain't stopped acting since. And he's ready.
I think that's the journey from care to reciprocity, that deep care when they're first born, because they know they cannot do anything for themselves. So there's this deep physical care that you have to do. And then it grows into a relationship of reciprocity where they give you grace, where they understand that you're more than the person who cares for them. And I don't think that we talk about that journey enough. So we stay in the care journey, even though we've outgrown it and they've outgrown it. Like, what is the journey beyond care as a mother?
Oh, and my gosh.
Step is reciprocity.
Yes.
Because that's relationship, right?
Yes.
That's a full energy exchange.
If I'm going to be a healthy human on this planet, all my relationships eventually have to come to a place of equity and balance. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
I have to hold us both to that standard of we need to be moving towards a more reciprocal, symbiotic relationship as opposed to a give and take only.
I think it's a little tougher for Black mothers because a lot of times we parent from a place of fear, if we're being honest, due to some real shit happening in history. Right. I'm not going to dismiss that, but we stay in that fear. And so the letting go, the full blossoming of our children, especially if they begin to have opinions and move in a way that we feel may, quite frankly, endanger their lives. And so we still hold on tightly to that care relationship because we feel like we can control the outcome, that if we're holding on to that provision and care relationship. One of our sayings here is motherhood is not the graveyard of dreams. And that was a real aha moment for me in my motherhood, because I had seen my children as obstacles to my creative endeavors and creative dreams. And when I began to see them as people who are here to expand my creative journey, it really opened up things for me. And it really, I think, helped my creativity bloom. So how do you feel like motherhood has informed your creativity or helped your creativity bloom?
I mean, I've always been a creative person, and I've always wanted to express myself creatively. But I think that motherhood has made me more fully present and more confident in my body, in myself, which then empowers me, right? To be on blast, to be on screen, to be on stage, to be the center, to be looked at. I mean, first of all, just pushing out this little person, like, oh my God, like I created that inside of me. Damn, me and God did that, right? So it was like, wow, that was amazing. You know, you're pregnant, all of that, but then that body comes out, or you look at that body and you see all of history in the face, and you're just like, oh my God, this is life. This is our power, right? So that was number one. I was like, oh, you're the shit, right? And then I had this little mini me. So my son looked just like me. You know? And so I had this little mini me, and I was young, and it was just like, let's do it. So when I had my daughter, I learned, oh my gosh, like I have a universe within me. This girl is mine. She came out of me. She looks nothing like me at birth, right? She's light skinned. She's all this thick curly hair. She's built like with these shoulders, and she was just like a sturdy baby, and it was the complete opposite of of my son and of what I expected to give birth to and of who I expected to give birth to. And I was delighted. I was just like, wow, because it changed my relationship with women and beauty and aesthetic value and all the things. And then I was just like, girl, you don't know what you can create and also manifest, because I also manifested. Like, I was like, I'm going to have my son, and then, okay, we're going to have a girl now. And then 10 years later, I was like, and now we're going to have a boy, and that's going to be it. They were like, well, do you want to know the sex? I was like, I don't need to know. I've already manifested her. Wow. Like, I've already manifested him. You can manifest anything. And I was like, wow, you're powerful.
Yes.
But there are still ways where that power is still a little intimidating. It's still a little bit scary. Like, what else can you manifest? Like, do you even want to ask for it? Because when you do manifest, you better be clear. You better be knowing what you're manifesting. Like with my son, thought I was manifesting one thing, and I did manifest it. But then 25 years later, I realized what I had manifested, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No,
and it was like, it's not that moment. It's now for the rest of your life. So you got to have a big vision, right? And so being a mom, that's what I learned.
Going back to that part about it being intimidating, that piece is like, we're so powerful that we're creating even when we don't know we're creating, because we forget how powerful we are at all times, right? So we're always powerful. We go in and out of awareness of that power, but yet we're so powerful that whether we are in the awareness or out of the awareness, what we are thinking, believing, doing is creating at that time, right? I've been in that same place. It's that sacred darkness that we're taught everything in the light is so good and appeasing, but we are taught the opposite about sacred darkness and about the unknown. And in that is the mystery of our power, which is innate to womanhood. It's innate to divine femininity, to be mysterious, to be veiled. And so distrust for that. Friend recently, I asked her, because I love her deep work with the divine feminine. And she said, if there's a part of you that fears that powerful divine feminine, it's because in another time, in another life, you have not forgiven yourself for something you did with that power. And you have to go back to that moment, and you have to look at the whole circumstance under which she yielded her power in that way, so that you can offer compassion and understanding and know that there's been times in this lifetime you could have wielded that power in a way that was harmful and you chose not to, and that you can be trusted with this power, but that also it's yours whether you trust it or not. So trusting it actually makes you more responsible with it. Not trusting it makes you irresponsible with it, which is how the accidental manifestations and creations come about, because we step in and out of the trust of the power, right? It's kind of like, if I know I got a wild horse in the back, me closing the door and pretending I ain't got a wild horse in the back ain't gonna make me not have a wild horse in the back. What it's gonna do is make the horse wilder, go make the horse buck, go make the horse tear up my backyard, until I start going back there, feeding it, caring for it, and nurturing it and acknowledging it.
I don't even know if I would say that it's accidental. I think it's like what you said, Thea. It reminds you that you are divine, whether you are intentional or unintentional. Your divine energy will manifest. And so it's not an accident because it still serves you.
Okay. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think part of the fear of the power is knowing it's an awesome responsibility. And will that impact the freedom? We like being free and light, but then here comes back to form, right? That there's a piece of us that always has to have a discipline or a structure around it, not in a punitive way, but in a way that says, I understand the awesomeness of the fact that I've been chosen to be this on this planet in this time. And I respect it and I revere it enough to create structure or discipline around it, but also to let it roam free and know that it will be okay.
It'll be okay.
Hey, Magic Makers, just wanted to jump in and let you know Thea had to leave because she had an opportunity to address the U.S. COVID-19 Health Equity Task Force. So shout out to Thea doing big things. Staci was gracious enough to stick around with me because I had a few more questions that I wanted to ask. So it's just she and I riding out this episode. I always tell you, the way that you practice yoga is the way that Billie Holiday sings. Her voice is the horn in the music.
Yes.
And so that's what you are to me whenever I practice with you. It's like you are a true instrument and you're not on top of the practice talking down to the people who you're facilitating, but you're talking through the practice. It feels like a practice, not something that I'm trying to get right, but something to learn from. It's something that is giving me information about where my body is, where my spirit is, and where my mind is. Practicing with you, and I began to use that term a lot more since I've been in a class that you facilitated, is practicing with you. It's really, really beautiful.
I love that description.
Yeah, and I think it's because you're creative. And so as creatives, we want to create an experience that we can have together. We don't want to separate ourselves from the audience or the experience. I think that shows up in your yoga practice.
Thank you. As a teacher, I came into teaching so that I can invite more of us into the practice, particularly Black women and Black men, to invite us to the mat, like to encourage you to the mat, rather than be some sort of spectacle in class. Every single journey I've been through, body journey, post-baby journey, aging body journey, injuries, recovering from injuries, ability or the lack of an ability, chronic pain, acute pain, like all of that, even disease I've dealt with. And so I come from a place of compassion and empathy. And I want to say, I hear you, I understand, I know, but this is what I know. What I know is if you do it today, stay humble. Everything is not going to be the way you maybe have it manifested in your mind, but hold on to the thought. Come back the next day. When you come back the next day, your body, this is the beauty of the body, is that the body is just one muscle and it's separated by fascia and ligaments and connected by ligaments and bone and tendons, etc. But we have only one muscle in the body. And every time you repeat a posture, you come back to a shape in your body is going to recruit more muscle fibers to make it more successful because you've been there before. And so that's it right there. every time you come back, your body will recruit more muscle fibers to make the posture more successful. And so we want to take that on the mat, and we learn that, we feel it, we do it on the mat, and then we take it off the mat. So that no matter where you start, first of all, you have a lifelong journey. You're never going to arrive in yoga. We are all practicing. When you are no longer practicing, you have become a guru. I am far from a guru, right? I'm a teacher, but I have the rest of my life, and I know it's going to take the rest of my life to continue this practice, to be a student. I will never arrive. I will never have learned yoga. And I know that that's one of the things that women have brought to the practice, particularly as a Black woman. I know how dope we are. And what I bring to the practice, what Black women have brought to the practice, is that creativity, right? That is that grounding. So many people tell me I've never had a class like this.
Yeah. And it's true.
And I'm not creating postures, you know, I'm not creating music. I'm not creating a style of cueing. It's just when it all comes together, it's a new experience.
Even the way that you just talked about the body, like, just made me see the body as a creative thing. Like, you know, I think that sometimes I think of the body as scientific. And so I separate it from being a creative force. But the fact that it can recruit muscles says, oh, the body is creative, because the body can change.
Yes.
The body adapts. Yes. The body evolves. So the body is a creative force. Like that just now.
It's true.
Yeah.
As a teacher, what I love is when I can give you a cue, like I can read your body and I can give you a cue in the posture. I'm going to say, well, just point your toe a little bit more, you know, open up a little bit more to the right. And then like hug your left hip forward and see what happens in your body. And people are like, wow, right? Like they feel it. Something's very small that they're like, yes. And I love that. And I love my own practice. You know, I tore my Achilles on my left side. This was now 8 years ago, but I never had surgery to repair it. I just kind of let it naturally heal, which means that it's unstable. It means that that's my problem child side.
Yeah.
And so balancing on that side is like, and it's fine, because I know that as it's shaking and as it's doing all that, it's building, it's still repairing. But also, when I come back to it the next day, you know, I feel it. Or when I press into the outer edge of my feet, or if I just stay on the mat constantly for a week, and I'm like, I can see it in my body. And that's amazing. Like, look what you did. Like, your legs are taking a different shape now.
Yeah.
And that's still kind of wonderful that even now at 48, that I can just coming back and being on this one sequence for a couple of weeks, that I can see and feel, you know, God's greatest creation is the human body. And it is responsive, and it is intelligent, and it can heal itself. We, the spirit, we can heal this body. And so that's really what my practice is all about. Yeah, because we're all coming to the mat for a reason.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I got two last questions for you. Number one, what is your dream creative endeavor? And where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
Woo! Dream creative endeavor. I love creating theater production. I love creating the whole vision. There I go. From the script to the actors, to the field, to the music, to the space. Like, I love to produce a complete production. And so my dream production would probably be to revisit my play, and I want to have it professionally mounted, and I want to direct it. So I'll just let that sit, because that is my dream, to get back to that. Where do I see myself 10 years from now? Two spaces. One is I'm going to keep fighting and struggling with Cal State LA. Like, I don't want to leave Cal State LA. I put in sweat equity there, time equity. I have put a lot of my resources into that campus. I know that my department is behind creating something more lucrative for me, and that's important. So I'm hoping that manifests. And so with our new College of Ethnic Studies, which is opening, and our new master's program in theater, it's never been a better time to be there. So I'm going to give it some time and see what happens. But as we get back to campus, now it's time to put the fire back under their butts and really make them do the things that they need to do. So I really feel that I'm going to have to create my own position on Cal State LA's campus.
Come on now.
It's something that they haven't seen, but you know, I am the fierce creative. And so it's both on the mat and off the mat, and my resume and all of the, you know, my receipts, they line up. So I want to see that happen at Cal State LA. And I don't want to do it with another campus. However, I might have to. So on the other hand, yoga, 10 years from now, I want to be hosting annual Black yoga retreats globally. So I want to finish my training and then start organizing those and, have that be kind of like a hieroglyphic annual thing. That's where I see myself in 10 years. I just want to maintain that global space and really ratchet it up another notch, to really get out of here, get us out. Because when I did my retreat, they were down to come to the desert more so than they were to come to regular classes.
Yeah.
And so again, it's just about, I want to get us to have a different relationship with it. Yeah.
Well, two things. Number one, I love that you said you want to create your own position, because again, I love when we take creative energy out of the art space, the way that our culture evolves and move forward, the way that movements are built, the way that, quite frankly, this country moves forward is through our creativity and ingenuity in the art space and beyond, in movement, in academia, in all of that. We imagined Black Studies and Pan-African Studies department. That's creativity. We imagine a free breakfast program. That's creativity. That's ingenuity. You know what I'm saying? So I love that when you think about creativity, you're thinking beyond art. You're thinking, I want to create my own space on a college campus. And, I think the thing about people being willing to go to another space for a retreat more so than class, it's because I think specifically for Black people, we rarely get that incubation period, like a period where we can just be covered and poured into. When we can get it for a long stretch of time, it's like, okay, I want to do that.
I'm going to do that.
Because that's going to carry me, like class might carry me through the week, but this retreat might carry me for 6 months. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Antigua, Costa Rica, the beaches in South Africa. Like, I'm just want to roll them out. And this last little bit of training that I need to go do. So, yoga, you have different statuses within like so-called, the Yoga Alliance, who is an international kind of registry for yoga teachers.
Yeah.
It's problematic. One thing is they are working with the Black Yoga Teachers Alliance, but the Black Yoga Teachers Alliance doesn't necessarily certify. And that's another area that I want to help to kind of clarify. I want to offer our own, I want us to authorize ourselves. I don't know why we need to go through Yoga Alliance.
Yes.
I want Black Yoga Teachers Alliance to authorize Black yoga teachers.
Because I'm sure they have the knowledge and the skill.
They do. It's almost like at the very least, we need to pull a Jordan. Like, how Jordan went with Nike?
Yeah.
But then he's still with Nike, but he's now Jordan.
Yeah.
But my next training is to go and do the training in Ayurveda to get that other piece of yoga that is not just what we're, doing on the mat, but the times of the year, what posture should we be taking, times of the year, what food should we be eating, times of the day, what food should we be eating, what postures, like really tapping in completely and folding that into pyro yoga, right? And so all of those elements together, moved by creativity, like how am I going to pull all of those foundational texts together?
That's how we dismantle white supremacy, because what white supremacy does is say, we just want the moves. We can just take this and capitalize off of this. I was watching an infomercial and it was about yoga, and the white woman said, I took all the frou-frou and philosophy out of it and it's just down to the moves. And I was like, well, then you're not doing yoga.
Right.
That is yoga. The philosophy and the breath work is the power in the positioning. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Otherwise, you can make shapes all day.
Right.
And yoga as a practice is hugely Westernly colonized. I mean, the body that we see is the white woman, the young, slender, Black white woman who can contort into all sorts of shapes, who may have 20 years of dance experience for all you know.
Yeah.
She's not even necessarily performing yoga, but we see the aesthetic. And so that dismissal of the frou-frou, right? The philosophy or
and the breath
work and the breath that's behind it is like, it's disrespectful, right? It's disrespectful, number one. And it's the commodifying. That commodification of the practice.
I don't need the whole thing. I just need pieces of it.
Let me just take what I want. Now I'm not Hindu, right? And I don't pretend to be, but I use Sanskrit as much as possible. I'll use Kemetic. If I have that language, I'll use the Kemetic. I use English because that's the language that I speak, right? But never without paying homage to its roots, never without acknowledging that this is an indigenous practice that comes from indigenous people.
And in your practice, you don't move us without intention.
No, never.
Whenever we move or shift, you say to open your heart or to let go of this. And it's like, I'm moving with intention and breath. So every piece of my being is manifesting and,
yes,
and moving in a creative way. So what do you have coming up next that you want people to know about, and where can people find you?
You can find me at hiroyoga.com, HIERO yoga, YOGA.com. Follow me on Instagram at Slim Mama, SLIMAMA7, or at Hiro Yoga. And then, of course, I do privates, I do corporate wellness, and I do private groups, private one-on-ones, pretty much anything you can think about that you might want to do with yoga. I am here for it. I work with athletic teams, and we've been isolated for so long, and we've been holding this seated position way too much. And so, I'm getting folks up in bridge this week. I'm getting you to bridge. And if I can, I'm gonna get you up in four wheel, like open up that whole front line. Like that's the inspiration.
But that's it. Like you're approaching it with that intention. I love that.
Well, we are here to heal and grow strong and just be present. Our thoughts are all over the place, and our bodies we're probably not moving as much as we need to. So I'm excited about getting back into this group yoga.
Well, thank you, Staci. Thank you for your time. We really, really appreciate it. And so make sure you all follow her on Instagram. And if you're in the Pasadena area, make sure you follow her and look out for some of her pop-ups. I promise you, it's a yoga class like you've never taken before. Really.
Word. Thank you. Always a pleasure, homegirl.
I really, really, really appreciate it. Hey, Magic Makers, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. This spring and summer, Staci Mitchell will be collaborating with Art and Power for Black Yoga Meetups. So be sure to follow her on IG at Slim Mama 7. That's SLIMAMA 7. And at Hiro Yoga, HIEROYOGA for the details on that. Those links and any other links mentioned in this episode will be in our show notes on our website at dimmblackmamas.com. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing. And remember to check out our Patreon community for bonus content from this episode at patreon.com/dimmblackmamas. And be sure to check out our church announcements on our show notes to see what we're up to individually that you can participate in. The mothership takes off again on Friday, April 15th. Until then, we wish you joy and expansion, and stay tuned for NeKisha's word. We promise is coming. Namaste, Black people. Namaste, Black people. Namaste.